Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Leader Path Show. Today, I use for the title of the episode one of my favorite quotes that is attributed to Picasso. Learn the rules like a pro, so you can break them like an artist. And this is what I want to discuss with you today. How can we unleash our inner artist? How can we infuse more art into our work? Let me know as you're coming on, and also let me know in the comments if you have a good image, because I get some messages that my connection is not stable. So if I don't have a stable connection and you get breaks or either sound or image of this, please let me know and I'll just try something different. All right. So the inspiration for the episode today came, I've been watching Daisy Jones and the Six on Prime Video this week. And if you haven't heard about the show, it is based on a New York Times bestseller book with the same name, Daisy Jones and the Six. And I had read the book at the time and I loved the book. And I loved the show too. Too much drugs for my taste, but hey, I love the show. This was the 70s and the rock stars in the 70s for you. The show is about a fictitious band on the 70s. And I was reflecting, what was it so alluring on the show? Why was it so successful, the book and now the show? And for me, at least, what made it so interesting was the way it was depicting the songwriters writing the songs, this creative process of what it takes to create a masterpiece, something that defines a generation, like an amazing song. And there's something in us that really connects with seeing geniuses in action, because we recognize ourselves. And which leads us to what's a genius? What's the true nature of genius? And there was a quote I heard this week, and it's from John Grinder, the father of NLP, the co-founder of NLP. And this was the quote: "Genius is unleashing your demons in a cage." And I loved the quote because in the show, Daisy Jones and the Six, you see that the way the artists create masterpiece songs, and we can only imagine that this is the way the best bands of all time created their masterpieces, and the best authors of all time. They connect with the truest parts of themselves and they let them out. And a lot of times those parts will be things you don't want to share. There's something in great art, whether it's visual arts or music or writing. What makes it great is a sense of recognition that is true, even if it's surreal art, even if it's metaphors. There's a recognition of coming home, of, oh, you showed me a part to myself. You saw this part that we all have in common, because 99.9% we're all the same. So the more you connect with yourself, the more you connect with others. And this, though, sharing this can feel scary, can feel like unleashing your demons on a cage. And there's this distinction, and that's why I like the quote, that if you unleash your demons on the world, you're a crazy person. But if you unleash your demons on a cage, you are a genius. And there's something scary about creating a masterpiece. There's something scary because we have to see the truth. We need to reconnect with the truth. We need to let it come through us and out in the world, and let the world to see and potentially judge it. There's something scary. It does feel like unleashing demons, but we need the cage, right? And the cage can be the art. And art can be everything. Business can be art, software can be art, our content can be art. So what I'd like to invite you to consider in today's episode is, how can you unleash more of your genius into your art. And what is your art? Which is the cage where you unleash the demons. And by the way, I looked into the word demon is an ancient Greek word, which means the same as the word genius in Latin. They are synonymous and they mean powerful spirit. Like in ancient Greeks, demon was not an evil spirit, it was a powerful spirit. And genius is the same, it's a powerful spirit. So what is the cage we can unleash the genius? Wild and scary. Is it our business? Is it our work? Is it our art? And how can we unleash more of it? How can we be more courageous in doing this? So most of us, no, not most of us, let me take that back. All of us were born artists. It only takes a moment to see children, how they love to create music, drawings, art, Lego towers, castles on the sand. There's such a creative force in us. The universe is creative. The new stars created all the time. The acorn becomes the oak tree. We were born creative. But at some point, we learned that this is not okay. We need to suppress the artists. We need to follow their rules. And I don't know why somehow we believed this, that we need to be serious now and follow rules and be more formal and all of those things and suppress our creativity. And as a result, most of us are stuck in boring jobs and boring businesses. Reconnecting with our inner artist is the best way I know to fall in love again with our work, with what we do. But there's another benefit. Yes, being more artistic, infusing more art into our work, more creativity, will help us love what we do more, right? We will get rid of all this boredom and burnout, and we'll be loving a creative life, as they say, is a beautiful life. But there is also more power in the hands of the artists. And I think this has always been the case. Like I'm thinking ancient Greece, the people that did the theaters, the people who, like Omerus, like the people who wrote the art, always shaped culture. I'm even thinking religious texts are a piece of art that shaped culture. But now it's easier than ever to have a voice. And in the past, art had always had a sense of power, but it wasn't just the art. It was the church, the politicians had power, the people who controlled the resources like the land, and then the people who controlled the labor and the factories. These were the people with power. And now, as Naval Ravikant says, there are two ways to create leverage that are permissionless. Yes, money creates leverage. Labor, if you have a lot of employees, you create leverage. But this, like, you have to have the money or you have to have the labor, etc. But there are a couple of ways to create leverage that are permissionless. Anyone or almost anyone could access those. And those are software, if you have an education of how to create software, and media. Because leverage means it can scale indefinitely with minimal added cost. Like software can serve hundreds of millions of people. A piece of media, like an article, a book, a podcast, a video, can reach, again, hundreds of thousands of people. You only create the art once, the piece of media once, and then it can be consumed by millions. So this creates leverage. And I was reflecting on the power of the individual creators nowadays, right? From more traditional creators, like I was thinking Shonda Rhimes, that created Grey's Anatomy and Scandal. She did more for LGBT rights in the US than many politicians, because he was one of the first creators that she created rounded LGBT characters in her shows. And that affects culture and how the US audience was thinking about this. And was thinking Oprah or Tim Ferriss can move products off the shelves with simple endorsement more than tons of advertising. The power of having a voice that people listen. When you have a voice that people listen, you can change things for the better. But also, you create choice for yourself. When people know what you can do, then you have opportunities coming your way and you can choose the spaces you want to be in. And in the past, you had to be discovered and chosen in order to have a voice. Like you needed to be, if you were an author, to be picked and traditionally published. If you were a musician, a record label needed to choose you and invest in you. That's not the case anymore. Now you just need to decide. You need to decide that your work matters, what you have to say matters. You need to assume the identity of the artist, the creator, the thought leader. And it's more. If you think about it, what is it that separates the cheaper for the more expensive meals, haircuts, bags, or outfits? It's not necessarily that the creator put on more time or the person doing the haircut. It is art. An expensive meal usually will have more art into it than a cheaper meal. And the same with a haircut, and the same with an expensive outfit. Yeah, sometimes the materials will be higher quality, but many times it's not. It's the same exact material, but and the material alone would not justify this huge difference in pricing. It is the art that generates the difference. So we know that art is what will create power, influence, wealth, extraordinary impact, an extraordinary career. But what we do, we just suppress our inner artist. We put ourselves into boxes. We follow rules. We become boring. And we produce unoriginal work. And all of that because of being scared, unleashing our demons into a cage, of being scared how we'll be judged. Will what I create be good enough? And we forget that all the people we admired had created tons and tons of work. Picasso created 13,000 items of work. The Beatles were creating a new song every 12 days for 8 years. Oprah had 4,500 shows. As Daniel Priestley posted very insightfully this week, Richard Branson had created 400 businesses. So we know that in order to create the masterpiece that will influence and have an impact, we need to start creating and honing our craft and becoming more confident that what comes through us, the inspiration, can be trusted as long as we put it in a cage and let it all go loose. And the cage can be our work and our art. As long as we have some frames, we can play wild inside of them. And that's how we have an impact. So I will leave you with a few questions today. What could be your cage where you can let your genius run wild? Is it your software? Is it your content? Is it your business? Is it your cooking? Is it your hobby? Let's all find a cage that we can let our demons or our genius run wild. Second question, how can you infuse more art into your work? And third, are you seeing the truth that your work is art and that your art matters? Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next Leader Path show.